welcome back to our podcast, Daleks Aren't Robots. I am a meat sack carrying a brain inside of a terrible, terrible robot, but you may call me Josh. And as always, I am here with my friends.
Hi, I'm Kari.
I am Zach.
I'm a stack of pancakes that is concerned that his son is slowly growing away from him, but you can just call me Justin.
Oh,
Is Yeti your son in this scenario?
I would imagine he is.
Anyway, for those who are new to the show, Zach and I are Doctor Who fans. Kari and Justin are not Doctor Who fans. And we're going through all of Doctor Who on a magical mystery tour.
What is the official name for Doctor Who fans?
They're Whovians.
Whovians.
Oh, okay.
A friend of mine has said, though,
Hooties?
it is not Hooties.
They're not Hoovers either.
I have also known people who say that we missed a great chance to call ourselves hooligans, but
Oh, that would have been amazing.
yeah, that would have been way better. I don't know why we dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah.
Today,
Monster Raving Loonies took hooligans. Anyway, go on.
Okay.
Today we're watching a serial that doesn't exist.
Yes. Today It kind of doesn't, as a matter of fact. Today, we do a serial that is one of many firsts for us. It is our first non-con, it is our first pure historical, and it's our first dive into a long, long history between Doctor Who and Yellowface. So you know it's going to be fun.
It's 1,000,000 hours long.
It is.
So
Justin, can you give us a brief, concise summary of Marco Polo?
So the TARDIS ends up in the snow. They meet Marco Polo, who looks exactly like Ace Rimmer from Red Dwarf. A bunch of things happen, and then it ends.
Okay, so more of a plotty summary. The TARDIS is broken again. Marco Polo wants to steal it so he can give it to Kubla Khan, who he works for, so that Kubla Khan will let him go home to Venice. Our good guys want to fix the TARDIS and leave, and there's an agent of an enemy warlord. His name is Tigana. He does evil stuff because he's evil. Also, he's super evil and evil. And finally, he dies.
Oh, is that what was going on?
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right.
Also, Marco Polo does not believe that this guy is evil ever.
No,
No.
not
Yeah.
until the
No,
very...
he was incredibly trustworthy.
Yes, even though he works for literally his boss's sworn enemy. That made a lot less sense on rewatching it, you guys.
So I played a drinking game where I took a shot every time they said Kubla Khan or Caravan. And
Oh my god, you're dead now, aren't you?
I'm just a ghost now.
Oh no.
Now you're ghost pancakes.
Oh.
They say those words a lot.
Well, you could also
Me
take
too.
shots every time they split the party and you'd also be dead. Like
Yeah,
1,000 times over, because they
So I
split the
realized
party.
something horrifying at the start of this. Ian is the face of the party.
He is.
Yep.
In this
That's-
one, at least, he absolutely is.
And I
know.
I guess the rest of the party also dumped charisma, so like he was the highest with 14 or 12 or something.
I don't
Maybe
think
that's
they
the
did,
case.
though. I think he just talks the loudest.
Also, it might interest you to know that the actor, William Russell, was upset by the lack of screen time that Ian got in these episodes.
Oh my gosh, he repeatedly saves the day. Okay, but let's go back to the beginning here. So these episodes do not exist. Apparently what happened, and you guys have told me this before, which is the only reason I know, is that they have lost the actual episodes, but apparently they still have the audio for reasons beyond my ken.
Yeah, the BBC kind of infamously spent a lot of time basically not bothering to store old broadcasts or removing old broadcasts in order to make space for new files under the concept of, if we're going to bother recreating it, then we can bring in all the old actors and basically reshoot it so that way the actors can get paid again.
How does that make you feel as a librarian?
It does not make me feel good. It's a little disconcerting, frankly.
So what are they missing?
From just Doctor Who, we are missing all of Marco Polo. Later this season, we're going to be missing a couple episodes from The Reign of Terror. We're missing about half of the First Doctor era in total. and we're missing most of the second Doctor, and there's going to be sections of the third Doctor where the episode isn't missing, but the only copies they have left are very rough. So I think there will be a few that are in complete black and white, even though by then they had color.
Because some of them have been recovered. People have been looking for years for the missing episodes because they were shipped all over the world and not all of them were destroyed.
I believe this is also how we preserved all of the audios, because like foreign broadcasts kept their own records, so they were able to sort of cobble together audio tracks from pretty much all of them, I think.
Oh.
I might be a little wrong about how that process worked. If so, let me know in the comments. I will read it and cry myself to sleep.
We all will.
From what I understand, also, the first episode of the Daleks is technically a reconstitution. That is not the first broadcast that we see. The first broadcast has been lost. That is a remixing of a rebroadcast. It's like American television will actually do a thing for a lot of old stuff where instead of showing the TV episode, which has now been lost or was recorded live, they have a recording of a television monitor playing back the program.
Huh. Well, what other kinds of shows did they get rid of?
Tons, just tons. There are a bunch of sitcoms missing. We're missing a lot of plays. I know that several live productions of Shakespeare plays are lost forever. And we're missing the moon landing. The British broadcast of the moon landing is just gone.
Wow.
Yeah, the BBC realized by the late 1970s that this may have been a mistake, so they actually made the BBC Film and Videotape Library and appointed Sue Malden, the leader of it, and she has been working for decades tracking down recordings and where they went and everything, trying to recover as much material as they can to keep the BBC's records intact.
Yep.
Jeez. So there you go, people. Hoard your VHSs. Throw nothing away ever.
Remember, kids, only you can protect libraries, and libraries need your help.
Yes. So when we watched these, what we actually watched was the audio of the original episode awkwardly attached to 3 different things. 1, black and white pictures that tried to change, when it was relevant. 1 with color photographs that tried to change when it was relevant. And the 3rd, the best, the most awesome, hilarious, bizarre thing ever, one that was created in this 3D virtual environment, so it's a lot like watching the show in the form of a PS2 game.
It was like a Ukrainian malware version of The Sims.
It
absolutely was.
It is a proto amateur animation. And Zach, do you have the name of the person who animated it?
The person's name is Whovians. They used to have a Twitter account. They still have a NeoCities page, and they still have a YouTube.
It was pretty great, not gonna lie. They did a really good job with the very limited materials they had. It was impressive.
It really helped.
Recon, I want to just thank you because you made watching this so much better. Just so much better.
Oh,
and in case you're curious, the program they used was Movie Storm.
I'm assuming that cost 8 cents and a bag of lint in like 1998, right?
No, it didn't exist till 2008.
Oh, wow.
And wasn't officially released till 2012.
Some of the figures were actually pretty good. Ping Cho, I think, was by far the best one. The others were a little dodgy.
Oh, hey, it's still like it exists today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was great. So that reconstitutor person is wonderful. Unfortunately, the pacing on these are still terrible. It's so long. Oh, God, it was so long,
From what I have seen of this season, this is easily the slowest of the serials.
This was 7 episodes long, and it should have been probably 3 episodes long. If that, maybe 2, because half of this, and I swear this is true, this is not me making it up, half of this is Marco Polo saying, Tigana says X, the others say Y. I believe Tigana. And so that happens like 3 or 4 times. And in my notes, I honestly wrote, after the very first episode, word for word, I just realized the whole plot is in this first episode, and the entire rest of the series is just faffing about.
It really is. The roof of the world, then skip to Assassinat Peking, and you will have missed basically nothing.
It was just a lot of filler. There is so much filler.
They were going for something.
What were they going for?
So this was intended to be the big episode of the show.
This episode was like a terrible road trip movie that never ends.
They put more money into this, the BBC did, than any other episode. And the Daleks is the one that kind of took away. Even though this one is still highly regarded by fans to this day. This is considered by some people, one of the best Hartnell episodes.
Why?
I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but Hooties are kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh. You're joking.
No.
Okay, and can we just what about the yellow face?
I guess we're jumping into the yellow face then.
It's the most obvious thing, but no, you should talk about the pacing first because oh my God.
I actually wanted to, I think unlike this special, we should not dwell too long on any one particular topic. I think most of us would agree that the pacing of this serial is a bit loaded. I will
glacial. Try glacial.
I hold on. I do want to give some credit, or not credit, but I want to not cast too much blame on John Lucarotti, who is the writer of this episode, who, from what I understand, had initially intended this to be a 4-part serial and had to expand it by 3 additional parts.
It shows.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
They were going for an epic feel, and I feel like if you saw it with the sets and the motion and how they filmed it, it would work a lot better because from all records, the filming on this was really well done.
The sets are beautiful. You can tell that just by the photos. They're gorgeous.
Just by the photos.
The palaces, especially in those last 2 episodes, the palaces are beautiful.
And I do have to wonder, they stop in a couple of different towns. I wonder if they had different town sets, which would have been kind of interesting. Of course, we saw them in the animated form where they were, imagine a children's gingerbread house made larger. And
they were very simple.
They were very simple.
But you can't blame that on the show.
No, you absolutely can't. And I actually had that in my notes that the palace sets are gorgeous. Some of the costuming is beautiful too, and you can tell that from the photos.
We've talked about how a lot of Whovians are big fans of this serial. I will say, personally, I am not one of them. I will not say it is the worst serial of this season, but it is, in my opinion, the hardest to get through. Discussions of Fire was easier than this.
It was a lot easier, and it was worse on the second watch through too. But we do need to talk about the yellow face because kind of what's bizarre about it to me is that there are some Asians. And so some of them are Asian and some of them are white people dressed as Asian is very baffling.
Ping Cho is played by, I think it's Yenya Merton, who is half British and half Burmese, I believe.
Right.
So not Chinese, but it's 1963. What the fuck are you going to do?
And other than non-speaking extras, that's it.
Pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
It is very uncomfortable, especially with the villainous Tagana. I will say this is most certainly not Doctor Who's worst dive into Yellowface.
Oh dear.
The Savages is coming. We will have to deal with that when we get to it.
Also, just to place Zinnia Murden for people, maybe she was Sandra Benes on Space 1999.
Yes, and she is marvelous in that. I just finished watching Space 1999. She was adorable in it, and I liked her in that, too.
I have a feeling we'll be coming back to her in a bit.
Yes.
Zach, I believe we were discussing prior to the recording of this particular episode, an interview you found with Waris Hussein. Waris Hussein, for people who don't know, was a director on most of the serials, I think most of the serials this season. He was technically a producer alongside of Verity Lambert. Big part of creating the show, although I would argue not as big as Verity Lambert, but that's debatable. Do you want to dive into that at all?
Basically, to summarize, he does acknowledge that none of the actors were Chinese and that a lot of it was lack of availability, even though he purposefully avoided casting anyone who had been in the 2 major Asian productions in London around that time because he didn't want any known faces. This is weird because the white people who were in yellowface were relatively known faces. So I don't really get his reasoning.
Sounds mighty suspicious to me.
It's a bit sus.
There's quite a bit of sus going on, and we probably don't want to dive into all of it.
When did that stop being the norm?
For Doctor Who, it took a while.
There are yellowface episodes at least into the 4th Doctor era, so that's in the 70s.
Late 70s, yeah.
The big one that I know of is The Talons of Wang Chiang, which is a very big, very beloved serial that is nonetheless incredibly racist.
Yes.
Yikes.
Like, in case the title, The Talons of Wang Chiang, isn't giving away, there's some issue there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to feel like I'm going to be put on a watch list for watching it. Hopefully it won't be as bad as you guys think.
We have not gone to the Savages, as Josh said.
The Savages is probably as low as it gets.
Oofda.
I mean, it's called The Savages.
What about any other authenticity? Like, does the timeline in the episode jive with the real life timeline? How close is this to actual Marco Polo?
So, John Lucarotti, who wrote this, had read Polo's memoirs quite extensively. The journey they follow is very similar to the route Marco Polo took on his first journey to Peking. And escorting a young teen princess. He did do that in 1292 to Persia. So not to the Khan, but still escorting a young princess, and her husband-to-be did die while they were journeying.
Oh my gosh.
Just to complete the story for people, she ended up marrying the guy's son and then dying 3 years after they arrived. So she died very young.
That's sad.
Yeah, and the names, Tagana, Akamat, and Nogai, they were named in his memoirs, but just as rulers, like the actual characters have nothing to do with history.
Gotcha.
I will also add to that, John Lucarotti also worked on a radio drama based on Marco Polo called The 3 Journeys of Marco Polo. So he did, in fact, know the subject.
So what you're saying is Marco Polo was a jerk.
Apparently, because, dear God, Marco Polo's an asshole in this. I would like to promote Mark Eden's Marco Polo here as, like, potentially worse than Ian, honestly.
Whoa.
The guy,
that's a toss-up.
But
we need to
reminder.
talk about the characters in this first, because that's important. I'd also like to note, before we get on with the characters, there's some sword fighting in this. We can't really see it, unfortunately, because we don't have any video of it.
The caption that we saw in the telesnap told us it was very exciting.
Speaking of the sword fighting, in one episode, Tagana did majorly slash Marco Polo's hand open, so there was a serious injury on set.
I've also been told that, so Tagana has a sort of Chinese pirate friend who has a
Chinese pirate
monkey.
guy.
He has a monkey, and the monkey, from what I understand, was not very well trained.
It wasn't trained at all.
Yeah. According to Carol Ann Ford, who plays Susan, it was, and I quote, a nasty little thing peeing all over the place and biting anyone who came near it. So this was not the best set.
Also, the wind machine really caused a lot of issues. They remember it blew sawdust in everyone's eyes over and over. The sand usually was sawdust. So
there's a sandstorm at one point, for context.
And it's sawdust.
And it takes forever. And I just thought of Mystery Science Theater 3000 with the sandstorm. It was deep hurting.
Deep hurting.
Deep hurting.
The best part about the sandstorm was Marco Polo screaming at the top of his lungs about how beautiful the sandstorm is to Barbara. And trying to be as poetic as possible over the racket. It was very funny.
I mean, we really have to talk about Marco Polo because fuck this asshole.
Oh, and you can tell he's not meant to read as a jerk.
No.
But he seems like a real jerk. And he's working for Kublai Khan. All right, okay, that's legitimately historical stuff. But there's this guy who is working for an enemy of Kublai Khan, and he believes every single thing this dude says.
Why would he lie?
I get that the implication is he's trying not to jeopardize the potential truce between them.
All that it comes off as, though, is that he is going to believe the dude he knows above any women and anybody he doesn't know.
Can't
To be
trust
fair,
these
they
damn
did just
foreigners.
appear.
Yeah, Ping Cho I liked a lot, though.
Hold on, I'm not done with Marco Polo.
Oh, you want to go back to... Okay,
I want to
go
keep going,
ahead.
because even in addition to his balls-deep stupidity, to his just flat-out pig-headedness, his response to people magically showing up in a box that can move without any horses or anything, and that everyone's afraid of these people because they're sorcerers, is to go, neat, that's my box now. I'm going to give it to the frickin' Kublai Khan. Like, it's almost a parody of colonial thinking, where, like, Marco Polo goes to these places and sees this stuff and is just like, this is mine now. I will do with it as I please. And, like, now it's happening to the white British people. And you'd think it would almost be a commentary, but it never is really treated that way. It's instead treated as, like, Marco Polo going, oh, it's so sad that I have to steal these people's caravan to fucking buy my way back to it. The caravan that they could just take him to Italy. Like, they could totally do that. That is a thing they can do. And this whole time he's waxing poetic like the biggest of the fedora assholes. And I just...
Yeah, he is the worst.
I hated him. And we have 7 episodes of him.
I get what they were going for, though.
What were they going for?
That's a good question.
They made the decision to have the narration from Marco Polo's perspective. At one point, it was going to be the regulars who did the narration bits, but they decided to give more insight into Marco Polo's character to do it as entries in his journal. Yes, you have the constant, don't trust Tigana, trust Tigana, and him kind of being wishy-washy on stealing it, which I haven't read enough about Marco Polo to know how accurate that is, but you get the sense that he feels like he's stuck between impossible choices. Even though we know I felt that.
All right.
No, I was mostly distracted by wondering if he and Ian were going to bang.
Oh my God. Oh, where's the brain bleach?
So much homoeroticism in this episode.
Yes.
The worst humans on the planet.
Let's move on to Ping Cho then. Kari, you had thoughts on Ping Cho.
I liked that character a lot. She's a sweet young woman, a noble woman. She's 16, so the same age as Susan. She is set to be married to a 75-year-old dignitary at the court of Kublai Khan. She has super amazing chemistry with Susan, and I kind of read them as a couple. Speaking of homoeroticism, they were very cute, and they were both devastated when they were kept apart. It was adorable. I do think they made a mistake with Ping Cho, though. Her relationship with Marco Polo is really weird. I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading it as fatherly or that he feels brotherly toward her. It's super underdeveloped. Like, he bosses her around, but there's no feeling about it from him at all. If he'd been more protective of her and related to her more like a dad would, it would have been a lot stronger, and I think Marco Polo would have been a lot more sympathetic. I thought it was interesting that Ping Cho's storyline is resolved when her super duper old husband-to-be poisons himself to death, taking a lethal concoction that is intended to make him younger for her, at which point she decides to stay with Kublai Khan's court.
From what I understand, there were alchemists at the time who, believing that it would revitalize them and give them eternal life, took concoctions that were full of mercury.
Oh, absolutely. That is a completely accurate reading of what could have happened back then.
Yeah. And as I said, they were trying to match the real story at least a little bit. Why they didn't just have him die before they reached there, I don't know.
I do give John Lucarati some credit. Well, I give him a lot of credit, actually. I'm kind of tempted to be soft on John Lucarati a little bit just because he later writes The Aztecs, which, despite having some troubling casting decisions there as well, is a really good serial, in my opinion, considered by many one of the more iconic So I feel like something may have gone wrong here, but he did seemingly try his best to create a what if our characters were just dumped into this actual historical situation, which is hard. And I actually kind of miss when Doctor Who used to do stuff like that, try to forego sci-fi conventions and Monster of the Week is in favor of just what would happen if we could explore this space for a while.
Monster of the Week is the friends we made along the way.
In this case, it really is. I mean, because that brings us to Tigana, and he's lame and stupid and transparently evil.
So transparent.
Like, the only way that he could have been more evil would be by, like, wearing a whole ton of skulls on him. I mean, they even show him wasting fruit, which is a dead indicator that he's evil.
And water.
And water. Although that water was poisoned, so that was actually a good move. Of course, he was the one that poisoned it, but, you know, who's counting?
Well, doesn't he also, like, do a thing where it's like, I will make sure you never find water, Marco Polo, or something?
He absolutely does. It's
to no one in particular.
Yeah, he just says it to himself aloud in the middle of the desert, like a
as
crazy
he pours the water out. It's amazing.
While laughing.
You know, I did, though, appreciate Kublai Khan in this story, and I appreciated him more on the second watch through. He's kind of just a nice old man with a lot of aches and pains, and he bonds with the Doctor about being old, and they also gamble together playing backgammon.
Speaking of ships.
Stakes that are horrifying. It's like half the country and the TARDIS, but it's hilarious. That was cute. It was pretty great.
Yeah. And then, of course, it doesn't work, but...
No, but it was a good try.
And the Emperor is sympathetic to them and kind of like to Marco Polo. Why did you steal their caravan?
Yeah, I do like that bit.
Doesn't even have wheels. What is he going to do with that?
And I know that you guys like the eye patch pirate guy. I didn't like him as much on the second go through.
I have no opinion.
But he has an eye patch and a monkey.
Yeah, monkeys are psychotic though. They'll rip your face off.
Yeah.
And he does live in the novelization.
Well, he absolutely gets killed in this.
Oh yeah, he dies horribly. And mostly I liked him because he was trying to help Ping Cho and Susan get away. One of the best things I discovered in doing some light research on this episode was learning that there are apparently fanfics out there for Ping Cho and Susan shippers.
Yay!
Because I can totally buy it. I can see it.
They have a lot of chemistry. They were really cute together.
I just thought that was the biggest ship to come out this episode.
Definitely.
Ian and Marco Polo does not work as well.
That's because they're both horrible. Ugh.
And Kublai Khan and the Doctor is also one. But...
Oh, that'd be cute too, actually. They need to stop splitting the party, though. Like, real talk here. They need to stop splitting the party.
Part of that, at least in one of the episodes, was William Hartnell went on vacation, which will happen a lot coming up because of the shooting schedule. People needed to be away. So sometimes when they split the party, it's because someone wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
I also do kind of wonder if William Hartnell's health was already kind of beginning to fail him a little bit.
Could be. They had the same problem in this one as they did, you know, in previous episodes, in that nobody believes Barbara even after she saved the day in the immediate episode previous to this, and she screams again. And then later, no one believes Susan either, that the eyes on one of the paintings in the cave moved, even though she's been repeatedly shown to be reliable. And then when she's proven right, no one apologizes for doubting her again. Oh, the characters. Yeah. Our team. It's time to talk about Ian.
I actually, before we get on that, I do want to say one thing that I really don't like about this serial. We spend almost no time, like you talk about all the time about splitting the party. This is, I think, the most split the party has been so far. There is basically no time spent working on the character dynamics in the team itself because they're just all over the place and we barely see them together.
Yeah, that's true. It's not very often that they're together.
Which I think kind of does a disservice to them as characters. We don't get to see different sides to them or anything. They're all usually just one state throughout the whole serial because they're basically dealing with NPCs. There's no time for the PCs to interact.
Yes, but we have to talk about Ian because Ian was actually slightly, a tiny bit, an infinitesimal amount useful in this episode.
Wow, you're
like
soft.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm obviously an Ian stan here, but like No, he explains thin air at the beginning, which is useful. And then he explains condensation later on. And both times he explains them appropriately and not just to condescend to everyone else. And he comes up with a way to distract the bad guys by making an explosion later on. So he actually helps for once. And at one point he pretends to be drunk, which was good. And maybe it would be better for that character to just be drunk all the time.
Trying to think now if they've ever had a wino on the TARDIS. I don't think that's happened.
No, and that might be bad. Maybe pot. Maybe somebody should just give him a lot of pot. I imagine that would make him a lot more pleasant to be around.
Now I want the Doctor to go and visit Bob Marley.
That would be amazing.
Bob Marley or Willie Nelson, either of them would be helpful there.
The Doctor himself was kind of an arrogant jerk again for a lot of this episode, but it kind of worked. I like the character. He's kind of spiky in personality. And he was actually gone for a lot of the episode too, which makes a lot more sense now that you say that Hartnell was on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they play it, if I recall correctly, as him still recovering from the injury he sustained in the last serial.
Oh, sure.
But once again, when the Doctor gets, huffy and condescending and, oversteps, there's usually pushback. Like, what was it, Pie Show they were playing?
Yeah, no, it was backgammon.
Backgammon. Yeah. Like in the backgammon game, he bites off more than he can chew and loses to Kublai Khan.
Yes, but I feel like that it didn't really seem to bother him that he lost either. I think he was genuinely having fun with the game as well. And he seemed to have a lot in common with the other cranky old guys, so I thought that they were kind of cute. And the unsung, unglorified other hero, the TARDIS. The poor TARDIS broke again in this episode, and this time it couldn't generate water or have a temperature control or whatever in there. And they said it would take a whole week of work to fix the thing. Like, how often does the TARDIS break in Doctor Who? Is it like
a lot?
Especially early on, the TARDIS is broken, so we can't just leave is a major plot device that comes up a lot to keep the characters wherever it is they are.
It's a defining part of the third Doctor's era.
Yeah, I
mean, how so?
He gets sentenced and stuck on Earth and spends most of his time trying to fix the TARDIS and doing adventures on Earth.
Did they have
which was
that season?
I think in that one they actually had an expanded budget, but they were told to switch to color, which I think was a more expensive stock. So
okay.
Oh, sure. I want to just point out here that maybe the TARDIS would work better if they fed it.
They're in the desert. What are they going to feed it?
I don't know. Camels, Tagana, whatever.
Marco Polo.
Yeah, Marco Polo.
Marco Polo.
I mean, I'm sure he'd make a nice dinner, just saying.
I would love the idea of Marco Polo going, "This is mine now," and the Doctor's going like, "Oh, okay, let me give you a tour," and just shoves him into the engine.
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's stealing it.
He will stone cold kill people.
He will.
He absolutely will, and we don't know that the TARDIS won't. I mean, it does sound like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Maybe it's a carnivorous TARDIS.
There is evidence to suggest that the TARDIS is totally willing to kill people in its own defense.
Oh, yeah.
And no one really needs Tagana. Just saying. Or
so
Ian.
We're adding...
But Tagana is our greatest friend and the most trustworthy person in the entire
Yes, indeed. If we learned nothing else from Marco Polo, we learned that.
It's really interesting that in this episode there is a Vizier and a traitor character, and they're not the same person.
In fact, the traitor kills the Vizier.
Yeah. How rare is that, man?
It almost never happens.
But we do need to talk about the one other character who gets at least some time in this, and that's Susan. I guess Barbara gets some time in this serial as well, but it really feels like it shortchanges Barbara as well as the Doctor.
Yeah, it does a bit.
Susan, for the most part, I think holds her own pretty well. A lot of her stuff with Ping Cho is handled very well. That said, the one thing I do want to discuss is the opening scene is bullshit, where she's like, "Oh my God, look at these footprints. They must have been made by giants." And Ian basically comes by and is just like, "No, Susan, they're just really big feet." Like, she can't tell the difference. And it was clearly just there to tack on a cliffhanger to the end of the last episode.
And there are no Yetis in this episode. There are no Yetis.
There are no Yetis. We get Yetis later, but no Yetis now.
Ooh, there's Yetis later?
Yeah. Second Doctor, I
Yes.
think, fights Yetis at one point.
Something to look forward to. Honestly, this episode, though, it was just like the road trip from hell. Everyone is angry at everybody else, and anyone who isn't angry is whining constantly.
Yeah. And oftentimes they're doing both at the same time.
Ugh, yes.
I don't like it. I know it's very popular with a lot of people, and I imagine if you were seeing it at the time, the sets and the production looked really cool, but we can't judge those.
Which is unfortunate, because you really can tell that the sets are gorgeous. They're beautiful.
Instead, we have to judge it by the story, and I'm sorry, the story is boring. It's
And the
long,
characters
it's drawn
are
out.
bad.
Yeah.
It kind of works, in my opinion.
All right. Well, we have one dissenting vote. Justin, your perspective?
Boring.
Okay. So that's 3-1 boring.
Yeah, I cannot stand beside this one.
Sorry, Zach.
But Ping Cho is great, and I ship her and Susan.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would definitely want more stories of, like, later on in the expanded universe, Susan basically kind of steals another TARDIS and goes on her own solo adventures. So I'd like to think that she went and picked up Ping Cho at some point.
Yeah. I would watch the heck out of that show.
It's after her husband gets murdered.
Oh, that's sad.
Wait till you meet the husband, then decide.
Oh, that bad, huh? Yikes.
He's not bad. He's just kind of bland.
He's kind of a drip. Yeah.
Ugh.
He was basically their way of getting Carol Ann Ford off the show because she didn't want to be on there anymore. So they write her, and it's like, there, you love this guy now, so you go marry him. And later on, someone writing a book was like, that's bullshit. The Master shows up, kills him, and she goes on an adventure with the Eighth Doctor in which she fatally wounds the Master and steals his TARDIS because she's a badass.
That's way better. That's way, way better.
Yep.
Headcanon accepted.
Yep. It's a good book.
Yeah. This was William Hartnell's and Caroline Ford's favorite serial.
I appreciate their acting.
Yes.
I don't know them as people, but both of them seem to had a lot of respect for each other and the show as a whole, so I respect that. I do not agree with that perspective. I strongly do not.
It's a better episode for her than for him.
Yeah, and Hartnell, frankly, probably just liked that he didn't have to do much. He got to lay around for a lot of it.
That makes sense.
He doesn't
might have liked the nice costumes and sets and production values.
Yes.
He's been in like war movies and stuff, so that was probably a scale he was more used to.
Huh.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, that wraps up what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Always feed your TARDIS.
One little note. Speaking of people who did like this, the BBC turned them down, but Disney was very interested in making this a movie.
Oofta.
Well, as we'll see later, they went in a different direction as far as Doctor Who and movies go. We'll probably have to cover those at some point. Oh, Peter Cushing.
This would have been one of the first movies if they had, said yes.
I actually like the Peter Cushing movies. They're campy and kind of dumb, but they're fun.
We'll have to watch those.
Yep. When we finish the Hartnell era, maybe we can take a little side journey into those. Or at least until after we do the second Dalek episode, because that makes up the basis for the second movie. And frankly, in my opinion, is better. But that's next season. For now, we continue this season with one of the serials I've actually never seen before. So this will be a new experience for me, just as much as for Justin and Kari. We will be plunging the depths of alien worlds in the Keys of Marinus.
Wait, how many episodes is this one going to be? How many episodes can you stretch out somebody losing their keys?
It is six episodes.
6 episodes of somebody's lost keys?
I think they find...
Can we bring back the fire instead?
I think we find one key per episode.
Oh, God. Bring me the fire back.
But don't worry, after that is the Aztecs, which is only 4 episodes.
Is there fire in that one?
A little.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's water in Marinus, so
And we've got people in rubber-suited alien costumes.
Good.
All right, that is good, yeah.
Until next time, this is the Daleks Aren't Robot crew reminding you feed your TARDIS, Ian sucks, and don't trust Tagana.
Yes.
Always trust Tagana.
Despite your every instinct telling you to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Despite his intense charisma and very trustworthy face, don't trust Tagana.
Just feed him to the TARDIS. You know you wanna.
And on these grounds, you dare to call the warlord Tagala a liar? You foolish child, how dare you make such a reckless accusation?